And so what has been truly fascinating, ladies and gentlemen, about this entire situation is who we're talking about. Let us not forget, this is someone who has built their entire career scolding the public from Capitol Hill, lecturing Americans about corruption and greed and the supposed evils of capitalism, while positioning herself as a moral authority. And so I'm talking about Ilhan Omar, who has found herself in a bad spot. And it's not just her at this point, it's her husband. Because now James Comer, the chairman of the Oversight Committee, he just posted on X that he's demanding financial information from companies linked to Minnesota Rep. Ilhan Omar's husband. His companies reportedly went from 51K to 30 million in 1 year with zero investor information. So what we want to know, who's funding this and who's buying access? Guys, this is where the situation gets serious, because we're talking about a company tied to her husband that, according to all the reporting that has come out, appears to exist only on paper with little to no evidence of real world operations. That's what people are now digging into, and clips are actually circulating around as more attention is being brought to it. And listen, when you built your entire political brand around demanding accountability, transparency, and how it's the rich elites oppressing the little guy, then people find out you are the rich elite you bash so much, the desire to expose people like an Ilhan Omar only becomes greater. As always, guys, smash that thumbs up button. That's the very best way to let me know that you enjoy the content, and subscribe to stay tuned in with more content. Let's get into it.
Congressman, do you have a response to President Trump saying that you're profiting off of the fraud situation or the fraud investigation that's going on in Minnesota? He's been saying that repeatedly. I wonder if you have a response to it.
I told you to stop believing what that man says, man.
Well,
I don't know why you keep asking me what that man says. Nothing he says is true. That's never been true.
Well, he's president.
I mean, again, just because you're president doesn't mean you're a truthful person. That man is a liar and delusional, and obviously needs to get some help. His obsession with me is way too much.
Has DOJ contacted you at all?
Absolutely not. You know this. You talk to them.
No. I was just wondering if you were contacted, because he's saying DOJ is going to investigate you. Trump is.
Democrats love to say that Trump is obsessed with them, but what's always interesting is how their entire platform seems to revolve around opposing the president, right? No matter what the issue actually is. It doesn't matter if an overwhelming majority of Americans support it, like with the SAVE Act, for instance, voter ID. If it comes from Trump, they oppose it, period. And the result, the American people get hurt, not because the policy is bad, but because partisanship comes first. Now, with that in mind, let's turn to the next clip. This one focuses on the reported jump in the net worth tied to Ilhan Omar and her husband. Take a listen.
Far-left Democrat Ilhan Omar is facing a House investigation involving her and her husband. You see, their financial fortunes have exploded in the last few years. Disclosures about Tim Mynette's wine business have jumped from just $51,000 to nearly $30 million a year. That wine must be delicious. That's a stunning rise. And you know what else is rising? Eyebrows. Especially given Omar and her allies' long history of railing against wealth, profit, capitalism.
We need to make sure that we're holding special interests accountable, that we're getting money out of politics, that we are taxing the uber rich, right. That the 1% gets to pay their fair share.
The only people who benefit from this bill are toy spaceship billionaires like Elon Musk and Donald Trump himself.
Those kinds of spoils that they are rolling in are not earned. They aren't working for those billions of dollars. They're stealing them.
So, ladies and gentlemen, that right there is what you call grade A hypocrisy. And as more news and information comes out, we're seeing just how hypocritical these people really are. And this news report from the New York Post reads, Ilhan Omar says her husband's firm was worth up to $25 million. But the business partner told court it was worth zilch. And so just going through this briefly, it speaks about how Ilhan Omar claimed that her husband, Tim Mynette's financial firm, was worth up to $25 million. But his business partner testified in a bankruptcy case it was worth almost nothing. And so Omar stated on her 2024 congressional financial disclosure form that her husband's Rose Lake Capital was worth $5 to $25 million, But their business partner told U.S. bankruptcy courts in Delaware that Rose Lake Capital had no money, no assets, and no investments. And so what's really going on here? But it's not just her husband's Rose Lake Capital firm that has a spotlight on it, but it's also this whole wine company they have set up where, for some reason, it's this multi-million-dollar wine company that no one's ever heard of. And so some journalists have decided to go do some digging to find out exactly what's going on. And so let's take a listen.
So let's see, this is Suite B. Again, that is the address where Ilhan Omar's winery is. You can see that a different winery is here, Punch Down Cellars.
What does this note say?
E Street Crew does not make wine here. They were a client many years ago and have ceased operation. Their operating address is linked to this address like all other client wineries because of state and federal filings. So I wonder what else they have to show for it. What do you think about that?
I think they're just trying to keep as much distance between them and their business and Ilhan Omar's as much as possible.
Yeah.
You guys just do a little more research before.
Well, yeah, that's what we're kind of doing right now.
Would you be so
But
kind
this
to
is,
tell us
do you know
about
what this place is?
No, that's why we came
It's a
down here.
custom crush place. A bunch of people use it.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's like renting instead of owning.
Yeah.
So,
I see.
so there's like about 40 of us in here
Okay.
making wine.
Yeah.
So-
We're just trying to like just figure out what is really going on. We see that
Next time, just call, because there's nothing going on here.
Yeah,
So.
cool.
The pastor told us that Punch Down Cellars makes wine for 14 different.
They don't make wine.
Or crushes.
You crush it and you hold it
We
for 'em?
no, we winemakers make wine in the same facility.
Oh, cool.
So-
Which, because my family, we've been part of like members of like certain wineries and stuff. So is there like a high-end brand that you guys like hold for or anything like that?
No, I don't own the place.
Okay.
I'm just one of the winemakers here.
cool.
And there's a bunch of us
Yeah.
under one roof.
Awesome.
That's all.
What's your winery's name?
Well, I'm not going to get into it.
Okay.
But it's not that one.
Well, yeah, obviously.
He didn't really seem very happy.
No,
Do they have people coming to check this place out or something that they needed to put a sign on it? I mean,
probably.
I haven't noticed anybody
I would
else
imagine
online.
so, because I mean that company's being sued.
And so it looks like there's something going on there that guy doesn't really want anybody knowing too much about. You'll have to make that decision up for yourself on what you think about that whole thing. But also what's been so interesting about this entire situation has been the fact that Ilhan Omar is a practicing Muslim. And her husband, according to this report, and a spokesperson for Omar's office, as we're going to get into, converted to Islam in order to be able to marry Omar. So let's get into this article briefly. As it states, Tim Minette converted to Islam to marry Omar, a practicing Muslim. But selling booze is strictly banned in Islamic law, which is considered anything to do with alcohol sinful or haram. And a spokesperson for Omar's office told the BBC Somalia at the time of the wedding in 2020, I assure you they got married in accordance with Islam and the law. And Ilhan Omar's husband converted to Islam. And so when you then add that into the fact that Minette's California-based winery company, it only adds more questions as far as what she's not been willing to answer with this entire situation.
The wealth of Presley and Omar have jumped since they were elected to Congress. House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer took the unique step of asking his panel to probe Omar and not the Ethics Committee.
The Ethics Committee has jurisdiction over members of Congress. The two businesses in question are owned by Ms. Omar's husband. So the Ethics Committee does not have jurisdiction over a spouse, only a member.
Omar contends she did nothing wrong, but says her rapid wealth stems from her husband. He has a consulting business, which may be worth millions. Plus, the couple had an interest in a California wine operation. The wealth of congressional spouses is complicated, especially if they are responsible for most of the income. Now, on the wine operation, one label was called Blockchain. It was described as featuring aromas of blackberry and baking spices. The sales pitch said you would not want to trade it even on the dark web. It sold for $7, Harris.
And so, yeah, Ladies and gentlemen, it should also be noted that by 2024, EST crew reportedly only had $650 in the bank. According to court documents in November 2024, the website went dark. And so it's not clear why, after all of the failure, Omar placed the business value in the 7 figures. And her financial disclosure covering from previous years of 2023, when EST crew was at least alive, she only put its value between $15,000 to $50,000, significantly lower. And so for right now, all of this is just allegations, and I understand that it is clearly very sketchy, very shady, very questionable business practices by her and her husband. Nonetheless, they're just allegations at this point. But as investigations continue, more and more information continues to come out that just is not supporting or helping Omar look any more innocent in this case. But here's some more. Take a listen.
Look, there's a whole lot of money on Capitol Hill, both sides of the aisle. And you could say that you want to follow all the money trail. Look at the Shush Fund years ago, where women were being quieted for some of the discrimination that was going on in the Hill. So we get that. This is a very specific case. Why is that?
Yeah, I was doing a bit of research into Tim Manette, Ilhan Omar's husband's various businesses, and his investment firm, it has no known clients, no known investment deals. It doesn't even have an active SEC registration. And his winery, which is also purportedly making him millions of dollars per year, has no online presence. It has no marketable products available for purchase online. And get this, back in 2024, an investor into that winery actually sued Manette and his business partners, alleging that they had fraudulently misrepresented the winery as a legitimate business operation. So yeah, maybe there's a version of events here in which, of course, all of this is conveniently timed with his wife's election to Congress and her growing considerable influence in the Democratic Party. And maybe there is a version of events in which Ilhan Omar and her husband have just been extremely fortunate. But in that case, you would think that Ilhan Omar might be a bit more appreciative for this country in the ways in which it's aided her success. But I look at these events and I think they have cracked the Hunter Biden playbook. And I think that there are many other people in Washington, D.C. who watched the success of the influence peddling scheme that the Biden family ran. And more importantly, they saw that the Biden family faced zero consequences for that scheme. And they decided to try and replicate the results themselves. So I do hope that James Comer is successful at cracking what is actually going on here, because I think that she's probably not the only one in Washington with some considerable wealth to answer for.
Yeah, so it's not looking good for Ilhan Omar, but we'll have to wait and see what actually comes from all of this, because ultimately this is what it comes down to. If she walks away from this without consequences, which can happen, we'll have to wait and see. What that really tells us is that it's something much bigger and much more troubling. Is that our elected officials don't really care about fraud or accountability. Why? Because maybe one day it could be them. And if that's the case, they don't want the rules enforced. They don't want standards applied evenly. They don't want accountability, because accountability is inconvenient when power is involved. And that's the message that sends to the American people, that some are allowed to bend the rules while everyone else is expected to follow them. That can never be acceptable. What this country needs more of now, more than ever, is real accountability applied equally, no matter who you are or what office you hold. And so we'll be watching how this all plays out. As always, smash the thumbs up button to let me know that you enjoyed the video. Subscribe to stay locked in for future content. Until next time.